most important man in any newsroom is the news editor, and I'd like to welcome to the Informer, the Daily Mail's Wayne Flower, who's going to be our very own news editor at large, which pleases me no end. Now, this week, you're going to give us a bit of a rundown on the key stories and what's making headlines. You're also going to take us through some of the key stories and look behind the scenes to give us a sense of just what the ramifications are and what the fallout has been following those stories. Your background is in hard news. In fact, back in 2012, you were much heralded for the Jill Maher story, which is a story that shocked not only Victorians but Australians around the country. This week, several stories you want to talk about, and I think the first one we should touch on is one that affects one of the biggest businesses in the country, the AFL.
Yeah, that's right, George. Obviously, with the COVID-19 crisis, the AFL have been hit hard, as a lot of businesses have been, but the AFL particularly hard because they've had one game in the last 3 months, and there was no spectators. Of course, that's going to carry on for the foreseeable future. What
are we hearing? What's the latest?
Well, I've been told that staff, the AFL has a lot of staff, hundreds of
about 500.
About 500 employees, and they've had several meetings with leaders across the business over the last week and a half, and they've effectively been told to start looking for new jobs. I'm hearing that 500 number could be as low as 50.
So 50 left out of the 500?
50 left out of the 500, so you're going to have a lot of people who are looking for jobs.
We're talking about people who've been part of the game for a lifetime.
Long time.
Families, we're talking about people who have responsibilities, loans, school fees that need to be addressed. This is going to be crushing.
Yeah, absolutely, and you would imagine that there would be some sort of redundancy provisions in place for these people, but like I said, they've been told to look for jobs. If they go and find another job, well, they're not really being made redundant, are they? So there's some concern out there about how it's going to work, but that.
When are we likely to hear this announcement from the chief man at the AFL?
Well, I don't know. I've made several inquiries with the AFL myself over the past couple of weeks, but they seem to have been lost in transit. I get no responses.
Bad news is something you don't like to dish out too often.
Yeah.
So they're going to be very guarded, very careful about what's being said. And the thing that fascinates me throughout all of this is that they've built an empire over the last 20 years, or more. And suddenly we're going to see that supposedly one of the best run businesses in the country, one fell swoop, and suddenly they're going to fall over.
Yeah, well, I mean, whether they fall over or not, I don't know, but it's obviously the league is going to be run very differently.
Very lean.
Very, very lean, and my mind boggles to think about how they've got 500 employees in the first place. What these people are all
we're talking mentors, we're talking assistants of assistants.
Well, yeah, and that's
so those specialist roles look like being kicked out the door.
It sounds like it's just going to be a bare bones running operation just to keep the game going, and what the flow-on effects of that are going to be to the individual clubs. Look, it's a wait and see. But in regards to when the AFL might make some sort of announcement on that, the AFL will make an announcement on that when the AFL is good and ready, like they do with everything else. Everything is very
tight, very well controlled. Yeah. They have been a very tight ship for a long, long time. But this sort of news can bring even the very best undone, can't it?
Yeah. Well, look, this will not come as news to the staff members that it's going to affect, because my understanding is that
they've been told for some time.
Yeah, that.
Wow. So let's look at another story that's made the headlines this week, and it concerns reality television. And it seems to me that reality has bitten one of the contestants. His behaviour, certainly not the sort of behaviour you would command or demand of anyone involved in any program, let alone one of the best products out of 10, MasterChef.
Yeah, well, these are the allegations afoot for Ben Ungerman at the moment, who was the runner-up in 2017, and news that he'd been up to something not quite right, or allegations of it, have been around since, I think, March 26 or something like that, when stories started emerging in the mainstream press that he had been arrested and he'd left the show over some sort of personal matter. Well, it has been revealed this week that personal matter are 2 charges of sexual assault against a 16-year-old while filming that show in February in Melbourne. So the details of what has happened there will be put before the court. He's due for a first mention in the Melbourne Magistrates Court at the end of June. Whether he'll appear there in person, you would think not. He's from Queensland. He's employed a top lawyer from Sydney who has represented some very high profile people, terrorists and alleged terrorists and the likes, including the Linked Cafe terrorists. So he's got some fairly decent representation.
Let's see where this story goes.
Absolutely.
And the third arm of this particular bit of newsmaking that you're offering us this week is another topic for discussion. It surrounds the infamous Informer 3838. Tell me something. This latest element of the story has seen one of the convicted drug traffickers released. He's done 12 years?
Yeah, well, yeah, he's been released on bail. His sentence non-parole period was almost up.
Almost up, okay.
But he was he was done for being one of Tony Mockbell's drug cooks, and he was caught in the clandestine drug lab.
Right, yeah.
But I guess he was caught red-handed, but his lawyer was also the lawyer of the police prosecution witness who ratted on him. So, I mean, it's a bit of a no-no. We could speculate on whether he's guilty or not, but...
How many more stories are you likely to bring us over the next few weeks on The Informer of this calibre? I mean, we've got an amazing story developing around the AFL. We've already heard about the MasterChef contestant who is still before the courts, and we can't say anything too much before there's a judgment on that. And now, of course, the latest on this convicted drug. Now, what's the scenario? What happens from here? He's been released on bail. He will go. What's the procedure?
He's having an appeal, so he's on a appeal bail because he was due for parole, I think, closer to the end of this year. So it's unusual to let a bloke out because he might be a flight risk. But I mean, he's already done something like 9 years, so he's not going anywhere. So he'll get out, and then there'll be another hearing to see, what happens if that conviction is overturned. But the big one, I guess everyone is waiting for, is Tony Mockbell has a similar case going through. I mean, can you imagine Mockbell gets released?
Do you think the wig will come up with him?
No, I don't think we'll see a wig anymore.
Look, it's been an amazing story from the very beginning. I'm glad that you're the one telling the story. Wayne Flower, thank you for joining us on The Informer. I hope we can do this on a regular basis because, as far as I'm concerned, a news editor at large, The Informer needs one.
Thanks, George.
Thanks,
Good
mate.
to be here.
Good on you.